The old man saw it in his sleep. Fire, everywhere fire. Moscow, a burning pyre against the black sky. Washington, D.C., a crater of ash. His dreams, once peaceful, now crackled with the heat of 1,000 suns. Putin, face twisted in a mask of rage, slammed his fist on the red button. Missiles, sleek and deadly, soared into the night, their trails like fiery serpents against the stars. The world held its breath, knowing the end was near. The nightmares began subtly, whispers of unease, a growing sense of dread. Then the news reports filled with grainy footage of troop movements and pronouncements of war. The world watched, horrified, as the doomsday clock ticked closer to midnight. Putin, eyes gleaming with a terrible light, spoke of destiny and power. His words, laced with venom, promised fire and fury. The world trembled on the brink. The first blast woke him with a start, a blinding flash, followed by a roar that seemed to split the earth. He stumbled to the window, his heart pounding in his chest. A mushroom cloud, terrible and beautiful, bloomed on the horizon. The world he knew, the world he loved, was gone. In its place, a nightmare landscape of fire and ash. The apocalypse had begun. His name was Peter, a simple cobbler with a kind heart and a love for his grandchildren. He had lived through hard times, seen his share of suffering, but nothing could have prepared him for this. The end of everything, born of one man's madness. As the firestorm raged outside, Peter could only cling to his family, praying for a miracle. But in his heart, he knew this was only the beginning. The sky, once a brilliant blue, turned a sickly yellow-grey. Ash, like a macabre snowfall, blanketed the earth. The air, thick with the stench of death and burning, choked the survivors. The lucky ones died quickly, incinerated in the initial blasts. The unlucky ones faced a slow, agonizing death from radiation sickness. The world, once teeming with life, became a silent, poisoned graveyard. In the aftermath, chaos reigned. Governments collapsed, their carefully constructed systems of order crumbling into dust. Cities, once bustling centers of commerce and culture, became desolate wastelands haunted by the ghosts of their former inhabitants. The survivors, hardened by unimaginable loss, fought tooth and nail for scraps of food and water. Morality became a luxury few could afford. In this new world, survival was the only law. Through the radioactive dust and despair, a new order began to emerge. Brutal warlords, their hearts hardened by the horrors they had witnessed, carved out territories with blood and iron. The strong preyed on the weak and the innocent perished. Hope, once a flickering candle in the darkness, seemed to be extinguished entirely. The world, plunged into a perpetual twilight, shivered in the grip of nuclear winter. But even in the darkest of times, the human spirit proved remarkably resilient. In hidden bunkers and fortified settlements, pockets of resistance flickered to life. Driven by a desperate hope for a better future, these survivors clung to the tattered remnants of their humanity. They shared their meager supplies, offered comfort to the grieving, and dreamed of a day when the sun would shine again. Their struggle, though fraught with peril, offered a glimmer of hope in a world teetering on the brink of annihilation. The United States, though battered and bleeding, emerged from the nuclear firestorm as the last superpower standing. Their victory, however, was a hollow one. The cost of survival was almost too high to bear. Their cities lay in ruins, their population decimated. The land, once fertile and bountiful, was scarred and poisoned. The American dream, it seemed, had become a nightmare. The survivors, hardened by the horrors they had witnessed, faced a daunting task: rebuilding a shattered nation from the radioactive ashes. They scavenged for supplies, established makeshift communities, and clung to the hope of a better future. But the scars of the war ran deep, both on the land and in the hearts of the people. The old world was gone, and a new, uncertain future lay ahead. From the ashes, a new breed of leader emerged. General Thomas Chase, a hardened veteran of countless battles, rose to prominence. With steely resolve and unwavering determination, he rallied the survivors under the banner of the new American Republic. He promised security, order, and a return to greatness. The people, desperate for hope, embraced him as their savior. But Chase's vision for the future was a dark and twisted one. He ruled with an iron fist, crushing dissent and consolidating his power. He exploited the people's fear and uncertainty, transforming the new American Republic into a militaristic state. Under his rule, the dream of a free and just society died, replaced by a nightmare of oppression and control. The victory, once a beacon of hope, had become a Pyrrhic one, paving the way for a new era of darkness. Just when humanity thought it had endured the worst, a new threat emerged from the depths of space. Giant bioluminescent ships, like predatory jellyfish against the night sky, descended upon Earth. They came not with weapons of war, but with a hunger far more terrifying. They sought a harvest, and humanity, steeped in the darkness of its own making, was ripe for the taking. The arrival of the aliens was heralded by strange occurrences. Animals behaved erratically, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The air crackled with an unseen energy, setting teeth on edge. Then the ships appeared, their vast organic forms blotting out the stars. Panic gripped the remnants of humanity. Was this a new enemy to conquer, or something far more sinister? The first contact was nothing short of terrifying. The aliens, tall and skeletal, with skin like polished obsidian, descended from their ships on shimmering beams of light. Their eyes, large and black, seemed to pierce the soul, judging, evaluating. They moved with an unnerving grace, their long, spindly fingers tipped with claws that shimmered like polished metal. Fear, primal and consuming, spread like wildfire. The aliens, however, did not attack, not in the traditional sense. Instead, they began a systematic rounding up of humans. They showed no mercy, no compassion. Men, women, children, all were herded into the waiting ships, their pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. The world watched in horror as the aliens began their harvest, their motives shrouded in mystery. What did these creatures want with humanity? The answer, when it finally came, was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. In Section 5, the harvest begins, a taste for human despair. The aliens, it turned out, were not conquerors, but connoisseurs. They traveled the cosmos, not for territory or resources, but for delicacies. And Earth, saturated with the negative energy of war and suffering, had become a gourmet's paradise. Their hunger, it turned out, was not for flesh and blood, but for something far more insidious, human despair. The process was swift and brutal. Humans, herded like cattle, were subjected to a terrifying selection process. The aliens, with their advanced technology, could sense the darkness within each soul. Those who had succumbed to hatred, fear, and despair were deemed delicious. They were dragged away, their screams echoing through the cavernous ships, their fate unknown. The others, those who still clung to some shred of hope, some spark of light within their hearts, were spared, for now. They were branded, marked with a glowing symbol on their foreheads, a sign of their unsavoriness. They were then dumped back on the ravaged earth, left to ponder their fate. Were they the lucky ones, or were they being saved for later, like a farmer fattening his prize pig? The world descended into a new kind of terror. It wasn't enough to survive the elements, the radiation, the remnants of war. Now, humans had to confront the darkness within themselves. Every hateful thought, every act of cruelty, every flicker of despair made them more desirable to the alien harvesters. Humanity, already on the brink, teetered on the precipice of extinction. Not from weapons of war, but from the darkness within their own hearts. Section 6, the currency of cosmic cuisine. The aliens, it was discovered, were not driven by malice, but by a cold cosmic indifference. They saw themselves as farmers, tending to a universal garden. And just as a farmer weeds out the weak and the sickly, so too did the aliens harvest those they deemed unfit. Their criteria, however, were not based on physical strength or intelligence, but on something far more esoteric: karma. The concept of karma, ancient and universal, resonated with a terrifying truth. Every action, every thought, every deed sent ripples through the fabric of existence. Positive actions, acts of kindness, love and compassion, created positive karma, strengthening the soul and illuminating the path. Negative actions fueled by hatred, greed and despair created negative karma, darkening the soul and attracting unwanted attention. Humanity, it seemed, had been on a downward spiral for centuries. War, pollution, inequality and endless consumption had created a miasma of negative karma, a feast for the alien harvesters. Their arrival, though terrifying, was merely a symptom of a deeper disease, a cosmic reckoning for generations of greed and violence. The survivors, those who remained unharvested, faced a stark choice: continue down the path of darkness, their souls ripe for the taking, or find a way to cleanse themselves, to tip the scales back towards the light. The question was, in a world stripped bare, where hope was a distant memory, could they possibly find the strength to change their fate? Section 7. Awaken the divine within, a glimmer of hope. As the alien ships continued their grim harvest, a different kind of message began to spread among the survivors. Whispered in hushed tones, passed from person to person, it spoke of an ancient power dormant within humanity. A power that could cleanse the soul, repel the darkness, and perhaps, just perhaps, offer a chance to fight back. The power of the divine within. This message found fertile ground in the most unexpected of places. A young woman, Sarah, who had lost everything in the nuclear fire, stumbled upon an old, leather-bound book in the ruins of a library. Its pages, filled with cryptic symbols and ancient wisdom, spoke of chakras, kundalini energy, and the potential for spiritual awakening. It spoke of a power that resided within every human being, waiting to be unlocked. At first, Sarah dismissed it as fantasy, the ramblings of a bygone era, but as she delved deeper, she felt a stirring within her, a resonance with the words on the page. She began to meditate, to visualize the energy centers within her body, to tap into the power that lay dormant within her. And slowly, surely, she began to change. The darkness that had clung to her, the fear and despair, began to dissipate. In its place, she felt a growing sense of peace, a connection to something larger than herself. Her intuition sharpened, her senses heightened. She began to see the world and the people in it with a new clarity. She realized that the power spoken of in the book was not a myth, but a key to unlocking humanity's true potential. Section 8, The Power of Unity, Humanity's Last Stand. Sarah's transformation did not go unnoticed. Others, drawn to the newfound light within her, flocked to her side. She shared her knowledge, teaching them the ways of meditation, energy work, and spiritual awakening. As they progressed, they discovered that the power of the divine was amplified when they worked together, their energies merging into a force far greater than the sum of its parts. Word of this growing movement spread like wildfire, carried on the winds of hope. From the ashes of a shattered world, a new kind of army began to rise. Not an army of soldiers and weapons, but an army of light. An army united by a common purpose, to cleanse their souls, reclaim their power, and fight back against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. The aliens, initially dismissive of this human resurgence, soon took notice. The negative energy they had come to feast upon was waning, replaced by something unpalatable, something bright, pure and powerful. Their harvesting efforts became less efficient, their senses confused by the sudden shift in energy. The time had come for humanity to make its stand, not with weapons of war, but with the power of their collective consciousness. They gathered in the ruins of their cities, their hearts beating as one. They meditated, they prayed, they channeled the divine energy within them, creating a beacon of light that pierced the darkness. The final battle for Earth and for the very soul of humanity was about to begin. Section 9, A New Dawn, forged in fire and faith. The air crackled with energy as humans and aliens faced off. The aliens, their sleek ships hovering ominously, seemed taken aback by the humans' transformation. The fear, the despair, the delicious negativity they had come to expect was gone, replaced by a resolute calm, a quiet power that radiated outwards, pushing back the darkness. The battle, when it came, was unlike any other in human history. There were no missiles, no bullets, no bombs. Only the clash of wills, the collision of light and darkness. Humans, their faces shining with a newfound purpose, channeled the divine energy within them, creating a wave of pure radiant power that washed over the alien ships. The aliens, caught off guard, retreated, their senses overloaded by the unexpected onslaught of positive energy. Their ships, once symbols of fear and despair, flickered and sputtered, their sleek forms dissolving into motes of light. The harvest was over. Humanity had prevailed. In the aftermath, as the golden light subsided, a sense of profound peace settled over the ravaged earth. The air, once choked with ash and despair, felt clean, vibrant. Birds sang, flowers bloomed, and from the ashes of a shattered world, a new dawn emerged. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, forced to confront the darkness within themselves. But through it all, they had discovered something far greater, a power that resided within them all along. The power of the divine, the power of love, the power of unity. And in that realization, they had found not only their salvation, but also their future. The future of a new humanity, forged in fire and faith, ready to rebuild their world on a foundation of peace, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the power of the human spirit.